me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane?
I have not seen that movie yet, but I'm actually looking forward to it. It looks like a little bit of fun there. Went from a dad bod to god bod. That's great. We are in our At the Movie series. In fact, we are concluding that series today, and we are talking about Thor, Love and Thunder. I'm not going to explain to you what Love and Thunder is, but if you go see the movie, you'll figure out what it's about. I do know, I looked on the insider stuff. But this movie essentially is a story about Gore, the god butcher, who has got it out. He's got a vendetta against all the gods. And Thor, feeling like he's a little bit outweighted, outnumbered, he recruits Valkyrie and Korg and, you guess it, his ex-girlfriend Jane Foster to come help him team up so they can actually conquer the god butcher Gore. That's what we're going to talk about today, is teamwork. That's the theme that's underlying that movie, this idea that there are certain things in your life that are so insurmountable to try and take on by yourself that you need to recruit help. You need people on your team. And so we're going to talk about teamwork. But as we talk about that, I just got to point out the obvious. This is America. America is land of the bootstrappers. You know what bootstrapping is? You pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. It's the land of I can make it happen on my own. It's the land of if there's an object that's too great to conquer in America, we can conquer that by ourselves. And we just have this tendency to want to go after. And there's nothing wrong with it. The American spirit is all about that there's barriers to be broken through. There's things we can do. But I think sometimes we get too caught up in the idea of I could do this on my own that we forget that we can actually accomplish way more together as a team. And so as we talk today about this idea, I've just got to be honest with you guys. If I were in Alcoholics Anonymous, it would be, hi, my name is Mike, and I'm an alcoholic. But today it's, hi, my name is Mike, and I'm horrible at asking for help. That's me. I mean, I don't know if you can relate. Please accept me into your group, because this is just a theme in my life. Not necessarily that I'm worried about people getting credit in my life. I just have this sense of I can do this on my own, and it makes me feel good about myself when I'm able to accomplish something by myself. And so there's this, I would imagine there's ego that plays into that, but there's also this sense of, my self-worth is attached to, can I accomplish this on my own? And there's many times in my life where there's been something that I probably did okay getting it done by myself, but it was so a lot less painful and probably a lot more smooth and a lot more effective if I had asked for help in the situation. And there was a situation just this week here. I'm talking today about teamwork. And while I'm preparing my message, there is something that happened this week that was an exact opposite example. It was hot all week long. We don't have AC in our home, and we had this little portable unit that you plug the hose into the window, and it's in my daughter's room, and our kids were at summer camp this week, so we stole it and put it in our room. But then the downstairs was just blazing hot, and I was supposed to be working from home. It's like 83 degrees downstairs, stagnant air. I'm just like, this isn't cool. And my wife's like, we have another AC unit. And I was like, yes, but it's a pain in the butt. As I get older, it's like 120 pounds, and it's up in the top in the attic, and I got to cart it on my shoulder, and I'm just worried about hurting my back and blah, blah, blah. My wife's like, did you ask your dad if he could come help you put it in? And I'm like, do you hate it when your spouse is right? Anybody? Just in the moment, I was like trying to think, do I defend my decision to not put the unit in the window, or do I admit to my wife and give her a point like that you were right? Because then it's like, I'm always right in these situations. I don't want to give it up. So I'm just like, I was like, yeah, maybe. Just kind of like blew it off. Later on, my dad, bless his heart, came over and helped me put the window unit in, and then I was able to move the other one downstairs and bear the heat for the rest of the week. My wife was like, so did you call your dad, or did he just come over? And I was like, well, he called me and asked me if he Help me put it in. I was playing with her. I told her the truth later. But do you hate it when your spouse is right about stuff, especially when you're the pastor and you're supposed to be talking about how we work together as a team for God, but you're not really doing a good job of illustrating that in your life? So if I were to be honest with you, there are topics I'm stronger at and there are topics I'm weaker at. This is one of the ones I need to grow into and get better at. I do, to some measure, lean in other people and work together with other people on a team, but there's a lot more that could be done if I would release more and allow people into the process of what's going on in my life. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a story. When I was in junior high school, I was scared to death of being on stage, like stage fright to the max. And I got talked into doing this thing in school called the speech meet, where a bunch of schools got together and people who signed up for it got to give a speech in front of a group of peers, which is mortifying for me. And I'm literally, for the 2 hours up to it, gonna hurl in the bathroom, sick to my stomach. And I get up on in front of everybody. There's only 20 people in the room, and I'm like this. I can't even hold myself still. But I remember I gave this speech about this bricklayer. And it reminds me of this situation that I'm often finding myself in where I feel like I got to do it on my own. See if you can relate. A man submitted a claim for numerous injuries, but all that he put on the claim form was lost presence of mind. Because of the size of the claim, the insurance company requested more information. The man gave the following response. Dear sir, I am writing in response to your request for additional information in block number 3 on the insurance form, with reference to my accident where I put lost presence of mind as to the cause of my accident. You said in your letter that I should explain more fully, and I trust these details will suffice. I am a bricklayer by trade, and on the day of the accident, I was working on the roof of a new 6-story building. When I completed my work, I discovered, lost my place here, I discovered somewhere in here, the story's over. I discovered I had about 600 pounds of brick left over. Rather than carry the load down by hand, I decided to lower them down in a barrel by using a pulley, which fortunately was attached to the side of the building at the 6th floor. Securing the rope at ground level, I went up on the roof, swung the barrel up, and loaded the bricks into it. Then I went back down to the ground and untied the rope, holding it tightly to ensure a slow descent of the 600 pounds of brick. Are your wheels turning? You will note in block number 11 of the reporting form that I weigh 185 pounds. Due to my surprise at being jerked off the ground so suddenly, I lost my presence of mind and I forgot to let go of the rope. In the vicinity of the 3rd floor, I met the barrel coming down. That explains the fractured skull and the broken collarbone. Slowed only slightly, I continued my rapid ascent, not stopping until the finger of my right hand was 2 knuckles deep into the pulley. Ow. And this explains the lacerations on my right hand. Fortunately, by this time, I had regained my presence of mind and I was able to hold tightly to the rope in spite of my great pain. At approximately the same time, however, the barrel of bricks hit the ground and the bottom fell out of the barrel. Now devoid of the weight of the bricks, the barrel weighed approximately 50 pounds. I refer you again to my weight in block number 11. As you might imagine, I began a rapid descent down the side of the building, and in the vicinity of the 3rd floor, I met the barrel coming up. This accounts for the 2 fractured ankles and the lacerations of my leg and lower body. Poor guy. And we're not done yet. The encounter with the barrel slowed me down and lessened my injuries when I fell into the pile of bricks. And fortunately, only 3 vertebrae were broken. I'm sorry to report, however, that as I lay there on the bricks, in pain, unable to move, looking up at the empty barrel 6 stories above me, again, I lost my presence of mind and I let go of the rope. As you might guess, the empty barrel came crashing down on me. This accounts for my head injuries. And as for the last question on your insurance form, what would I do if the same situation rose again? Please be advised, I finished trying to do the job all by myself. Do you ever feel like that in life? Like you're getting beat up because you're sure you can get it done. Now, he got the job done. I guess the bricks ended up on the ground in the end, but not with a lot of pain and mess and injury. And I think a lot of times we go through life feeling like it's got to be me to get the job done. And if I get anybody else to help me out, if I join a team, I'm a failure. I'm not adequate enough. There's a a thing, though, that happens in our life when we have so many of these problems or obstacles that seem to stack up against us. And there's a point of overwhelm that hits us where we just pretty much just give in. We're just like, I can't do it. It's too much. And I would describe that as low morale. In fact, it's not in your notes, but you might write this down. Low morale equals there's nothing I can do. You get to the place where you just feel overwhelmed, you just kind of throw in the towel. I give up. I can't do it. Uncle. But I think I want to move us to a place today of high morale, which is there is something that can be done. In every problem, in every situation, there's something to be done. I think the problem is we think our mindset needs to shift because we think it's got to be done by me when it could be done by us. And I think that's what we have to move towards. That's where teamwork comes into play. I need you and you need me, which is why today's topic is teamwork makes the dream work. Do you have a dream for your life? Do you have something that you wish you could accomplish by, you get to the end of the life and you look back and you're like, job well done. What does that dream look like? If it's something that you feel like you could accomplish on your own, your dream is too small. Every dream, big dream, if you dream big in your life, every dream requires the action of multiple people to be a part of it, a team of people to get the job done. The law of significance in John Maxwell's book, 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork, is this, that one is too small a number to achieve greatness. In fact, I would contend that no one in the history of mankind has ever accomplished anything significant for mankind by themselves. Anything of significance required the work. I heard one time someone was like, yeah, Charles Lindbergh, he flew across the ocean by himself. Well, was he also the owner and the builder of the airplane? Was he also the company that funded his trip? No. There are lots of people behind even something like that. That was a solo voyage. A lot of people are behind anything of significance accomplished with our life. There are people behind us. I stand on stage because there are people behind the scenes every week who make what we do every week happen. It's not me. I don't put this all together and just show up and like magically it all happens. There are so many different people and so many hours of work that are done every week to make sure that what we do every week happens, because it takes a team to make anything significant happen. So we're going to talk today. I believe that the power of partnership is very powerful in our lives. So we're going to take a quick tour through Scripture. And in your notes, if you got them out, if you're online, make sure you get the note tab open. We're going to go a quick tour through Scripture and look at 6 benefits that Scripture reveals about the power of partnership. So here we go. We're going to go quickly on these, but the first one is this. Number 1 is partnership unifies for strength. Partnership unifies for strength. The greatest way you are made stronger is by being around the right people. And when it comes to partnership, it's important to note it's not just partnering with anybody. There are certain people that are not probably a good fit for you to partner with. It's finding the right people to partner with. It's finding those people where you complement each other. That's why you hear often in a marriage that opposites attract, because if 2 people are exactly the same in a relationship, one of them is not necessary. So a partnership actually works out best when you complement each other, that I have strengths and you have weaknesses, and my strengths shore up your weaknesses, and your strengths shore up my weaknesses. So it's about finding the right partnership. But if you get yourself around the right people, it makes you stronger. There's a great story in Exodus chapter 17. Moses is leading the nation of Israel. They're wandering in the desert, and they end up coming against a foe, the Amalekites. And Joshua is the one who's leading the army into battle. And they found that when Moses had his hands up like this, that the nation of Israel was winning the battle. But have you ever tried to put your hands up like this for a long period of time? Oh, just for fun, if you got kids, just if you like want to just have fun with them and mess around with them a little bit, give them like a can of corn and tell them that they hold it straight out like this at a 90-degree angle for 5 minutes, you'll give them a $5 bill. It's fun to watch. Someone did that to me when I was a kid. It wasn't so fun for me as the kid. But the thing is, if you got your hands up like this for a long time, eventually they get tired. And so Moses got to the point where he had to drop his hands. I'm sure his muscles were burning. And when he did, the nation of Israel began losing the battle. And so what happens is great in this story. We want to read in chapter 17, starting in verse 11. It says, as long as Moses held up the staff in his hands, the Israelites had the advantage. But whenever he dropped his hands, the Amalekites gained the advantage. Moses' arms soon became so tired, he could no longer hold them up. So Moses has got his 2 hands up. What happens is there's only so much he can do. There's enough he can do. He got them up for a while. I'm sure he accomplished a lot by having his hands up. But at some point in time, 2 hands being up is just not enough. So reading on in the story, you find out that Aaron, his brother, and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands, so his hands held steady until sunset. So now, it's not just two hands up. Now you got six hands. Moses is sitting on a stone, and these two men are holding one hand each on either side, allowing him to keep his hands up long enough for them to win the battle, which we find in verse 13 as a result. Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. Wouldn't have been possible if Moses was by himself, but he had a team of people there holding his arms up for him. Many of you know that my wife broke her ankle just over a month ago. You may not have heard the story of what happened if you didn't get online or see it, but we were outside of Las Vegas in Red Rock Canyon on a scooter tour. So it wasn't a crazy trip. We're driving around in a scooter, an open-air scooter, and we stopped off at a little, like a viewpoint, and there's a trail, and our tour guide gave us 20 minutes to just walk out, take some pictures or whatever. I'm the adventurous one, so we kind of hiked down a little bit. It's pretty steep on this kind of gravelly, loose rock, and we get down past that area, and there's boulders, these giant boulders where you're kind of stepping down like 2 feet at a time, like stepping off the stage here or whatever. And I wanted to go down further in the hike. My wife was like, I don't feel comfortable with that, so she turned around to come back. Now, you'd think if she broke her ankle, which she did in 3 places and had to have surgery to put it back together, something really crazy happened. I have this scar on my arm right here, and if you've never heard the story about this, when I was 18 years old, I was a daredevil, and I liked going skiing up on Mount Hood. I would go almost every weekend in the wintertime, and I loved to go on black diamond and double black diamond runs and jump, like all the crazy stuff that today I don't think I would even have the guts to do. But here's the thing. What I don't tell people about this story is it wasn't a dramatic black diamond run where I took a jump and smacked a tree or landed it wrong. I broke my arm getting off the chairlift. Don't tell anybody. That's kind of what happened with my wife with this injury is she was just taking a quick, careful step up onto one of these boulders, and there was some loose rock on it. No matter how much grip she had on her shoes, the rock slipped out from underneath her, and her foot went sideways and snapped. The rest is history. Now I run up to go get some help because I realized I couldn't do anything for my wife down there by myself. We're up so far that my wife's leg, her ankle's broken, and I actually had to walk half the way up. It's that steep. It's very steep. I get up to the top. I tell our tour guide, and he calls 911. Well, actually, he was like, should I call 911? I'm thinking dollar signs. I'm like, ambulance bill, no, let's hold off. Let's see if we can get her up here ourselves. So he comes in. We're like, maybe we can grab a couple people. We found a couple able-bodied guys. This Brazilian dude who was on his honeymoon looked like a bodybuilder, and he comes and this other guy who's a really strong guy, and our tour guide and myself, I'm like, we can do this. And so my wife's like, I don't know. I'm like, we can get you up there. Trust me, it's free if you get up there. And so I'm like, we can do this. And so I got her leg holding it so that it doesn't, and the other 3 guys are trying to get her up, but it's so steep and going up the rocks, they're lucky if they don't slip off themselves. So all we managed to do is get my wife about 20 feet away into the shade because it was like 100 degrees out, get her in the shade of this rock, and then our tour guide went back up to call 911. And I was waiting for an ambulance to show up, but it didn't. It was the Bureau of Land Management that showed up, and a bunch of park rangers got out. And then it was 2 police units, and a couple more got out. And then it was a rescue unit, and about 4 guys jumped out of there. And then there was the fire engine, and I'm like, guys, hold on. This is just one person here. It's not like a team of people. But a few of them come down, and they're talking to my wife, doing triage, putting a little cardboard splint around her ankle, getting it all ready to go. And there's probably, I guess, about 5 or 6 of them at this point in time. I'm like, okay, we got this. One of them, as they're ready to now haul her out, goes up into a clearing and calls on the radio. He's like, send down the buff dudes. I'm like, are you serious? I kid you not. Out walk 4 guys that are 6'3", that look like bodybuilders. They're like, their t-shirts probably got seams ripped in it because they're so buff. Like Incredible Hulk is coming out, and these guys come down like, yo, you need our help? It's like, I'm like, hi, I'm the husband. I'm going to walk away. And I got a picture. Here's a picture of the little stretcher they took. This is the first group of guys. I think there were 7 here who helped her get there. And then here's the next picture. They get her on this one-wheel gurney, and I counted 12 people total. And here's the thing. It may have seemed overkill at the time, but these guys have done this routine at this exact place. They say it happens all the time. And they know better than to try and do it with too few people. So they had 12 people to make sure that everything went well. I think sometimes in life we think we got it covered. Oh, that's enough. We don't need any more. But what if we invited more people onto our team to help us out? What more could we accomplish? And could we do it in a little less messy and a little less painful way? Partnership unifies for strength. Here's the second thing. The second benefit of a partnership is that partnership intensifies our commitment to each other. There's a really great story in Ruth, the book of Ruth in the Old Testament. And this lady, Naomi, her and her husband and her sons moved to a distant land. And while there, her sons meet and marry these young ladies. Her husband and her sons die, and Naomi, now stuck kind of like abandoned in this land, is like, I'm going to go back to my homeland. Tells the daughter-in-laws, you guys stay here. This is where you guys live. Don't feel obligated to come back. But here's what Ruth says to her. This is the partnership Ruth had with Naomi. She says, wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. That, my friends, is deep partnership. Kind of reminds me of lifelong friends that, as kids, they became blood brothers, or they spit on their hands and shook, people who, for their lifetime, they would give their literal life for each other because there's that much connection. Partnership like that intensifies commitment. Here's the third thing. The third benefit is that partnership purifies our motives. There's a classic example in the book of 1 Samuel where you guys know the story about David and Goliath. David slings the stone and kills Goliath. David ends up getting invited into the king's court, Saul's court, and becomes one of his leaders of one of his battalions, basically, to go into war. And what ends up happening is that the ladies, when David comes back, is they sing this new hit song. It was in the top 40s list at that time. Saul has killed his thousands, David his 10,000s. And Saul gets very jealous, very insecure about this. But Saul has a son named Jonathan, and Jonathan and David just become like lifelong BFFs. Like, these guys are inseparable. And here's what Saul says in 1 Samuel 20, verse 31. He says, he's talking to his son Jonathan. He says, as long as that son of Jesse is alive, you'll never be king. Now go and get him so I can kill him. Now, Jonathan knows that he's the rightful heir to the throne by blood, but he realizes that God's call is on David, not on him. And so what Jonathan does is he actually warns David against his dad's wishes to save David's life, when honestly, if he just let things play out, he'd get to be the one to be the king. But see, when you have a partnership, a pure partnership, that partnership purifies your motives. There's nothing like a purified partnership where your motives is, I see value in you, I see what you can accomplish, and I want to come in underneath you, and I want to serve you. I want to lift you up. I want to enlarge you, and I want to support you. You see, partnership purifies our motives. Here's the fourth benefit to partnership. Partnership solidifies new alliances. It solidifies new alliances. There's a story in the book of Nehemiah about Nehemiah, who's the king's cupbearer. I'll give you a little context. The nation of Israel is conquered by the Babylonians, and they're hauled off to a distant land. They're there for 70 years. They're in captivity. During that time, by the way, they ransacked Jerusalem. They basically demolished everything there. And during that time, Nehemiah, while he's there in Babylonia, he's serving the king. He gets word that the temple and the city walls are in ruins, and he's just heartbroken about this. So he ends up, if you read the story, beautiful story, and he's got this intense, passionate vision to restore the walls. So he actually comes before the people in Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 17. He says, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace. He actually rallies the nation of Israel, and they build the wall of Jerusalem, and it's no small wall. We're talking thick, we're talking tall, and it's quite a bit around. The nation of Israel rebuilds the wall in 52 days. I can't imagine. And without modern technology, like it's just blood, sweat, and tears. They're just putting their backs into this thing. They build the wall in 52 days because Nehemiah creates a partnership that solidifies this alliance. People that were not working together now are working together under a common goal that they're going to rebuild this wall. I think about what we have coming up next month. The last Sunday of August is the Good Neighbor Project. And you heard Emily just moments ago talking about today, sign up start. If you have not signed up today, I want to encourage you right now. I give you permission while I'm talking to pull out your connection card, get that catalog out there, and look for the project that you want to be a part of. And I want you to go beyond that, because we could just say, with the ones here, we could do a lot. Or we could say, you know what? I've got some friends, some family, some neighbors, some coworkers. They might enjoy doing this as well. You could invite them to be a part of that. Here's the thing. When you bring people that are not part of our church community together to see what the church does, not in a church service, because maybe they're not into church and into church service, but you get to them to see and lock arms with them and walk along and serve all these projects in our community and see what can happen when we get together. You might create and forge a new alliance, a new partnership with people that are like, you know what? I might check this church out because I like what they're doing in the community. And you have the opportunity to create a partnership that solidifies new alliances. It's the story of how people come together around a vision for a common cause. We have a common cause that we are passionate about our community. We want to go out there and show our community love. And in areas where we see our community underserved, we want to get in there and show love and build them up to serve them. Here's the fifth benefit of partnership. Partnership multiplies our effectiveness. A partnership will multiply our effectiveness. Here, spiritually speaking, when we come together for a common cause, we're not talking addition anymore. It's not like if I get together with you, 1 + 1 = 2. It's actually 1 + 1 = 3 or maybe 4. Because when we get together, we're not talking addition, we're now talking about multiplication. In fact, there's a great passage in Scripture, Leviticus 26. God is addressing the nation of Israel, and he's telling them, here's how I'm going to bless you if you obey me, if you do what I call you to do. In verse 8, he says, 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 of you will chase 10,000. Wait a second. Let's do the math on that. 5 of you will chase 100. If 5 of you chase 100, it's one of you is going to chase 20. Each person is responsible for 20, right? But what happens if you increase it to 100? 100 are now chasing 10,000? Shouldn't it be 2,000? If you do your math, shouldn't it be 2,000, 20 per every person? But no, it actually becomes 100 per every person. 5 times the effect. And you may be like, oh, he's just kind of pumping them up, like giving them a pep talk, telling them how good it'll be if you all get together on this. But there's a story I heard before about draft horses. You may have heard this before, that a good, strong, solid, working draft horse can pull a load of 8,000 pounds. And if you get 2 draft horses working together in tandem, they can't pull 16,000 pounds. You'd think they could, but they can't. They pull 24,000. That's if they're newly paired together. And if you get them to work together as a team, and you get them to be consistent with each other and cohesive, those 2 draft horses can now pull 32,000 pounds. This is true in life, that if you're trying to do it by yourself, you can accomplish X. But if you get other people to be part of your team, you don't get to accomplish X plus X plus X. You get to accomplish X times, and there's a factor where you increase and multiply what you're able to accomplish together because of that partnership. Here's the last benefit I want to give you this morning about partnership. Partnership testifies of God's love and mission. Partnership testifies of God's love and mission. In John chapter 17, it's basically an entire chapter dedicated to a prayer of Jesus, and this is a prayer Jesus prays right before he's about to be betrayed, arrested, and eventually crucified on a cross. So he knows this is his final days with his disciples. It's his final days to be able to do his last thing he's going to do before he's done with his ministry on earth. And here's what he prays in John chapter 17, verse 20 and 21. He says, I am praying not only for these disciples, the ones that he had that were following him, but also for all who will believe in me through their message. So not only my followers, but the ones who will believe the message my followers share. He goes on in verse 21 to say, I pray that they will all be one, unified, right? All together, just as you and I are one, speaking of God and his relationship with Jesus. As you are in me, Father, and I am in you. And why is this his prayer? Because it says, may they be in us so that the world will what? Believe you sent me. Jesus says that the world will know you are Christians by your love for one another. They will know you are my followers by your love for one another. And when we lock arms together in partnership and we do something great together, it's a witness to the world. It's a testimony to God's love and his mission, what he wants to do in the world. So 6 great partnership benefits. Partnership unifies for strength. It intensifies our commitment to each other. It purifies our motives. It solidifies new alliances, multiplies our effectiveness, and testifies to God's love and his mission. Next week, we're going to begin a brand new series for the month of August. And I think it's fitting to what we're talking about right now. The next week's topic that we're kicking off is called Prove It. Because all the while we live our lives as Christians, and we follow God and we live for him. Did you know that 70% of people in America would say they are followers of Jesus? I say prove it. Because your words mean nothing. Your talk is cheap. Your actions say everything. And so this next series we're going to kick off next week. I hope you come next week. In fact, ironically, next week's topic is called Stop Going to Church. So I want you to come to church so you can learn how to stop going to church. So I know, play with that for a second in your head. But invite someone you know to come here with you so they can actually witness what we're talking about, that our faith is not something we talk. It is not words speak. It is our actions, that we prove our life by the way we prove our faith rather by the way we live our life. So I hope you join us for that. As we wrap up today, I want to share with you, in the beginning I talked about how you probably, or maybe you don't, but you should, have a dream for your life, which you want to see accomplished in your lifetime. And if your dream is something you can accomplish on your own, that it's too small. I want to share with you really quickly in your notes my dream. It's 4 phrases in your notes. Number 1, I want to make a difference. That's me. That's my part. I want to make a difference. But I want to do it with people who want to make a difference. That's where you come into play. That's your part. And hopefully, in your life, with your dream, that you want to make a difference, that you're not trying to do this as a solo act. Here's the thing. We try to live our lives like the Lone Ranger. We can do it all on our own. We can be the hero of our own story. But here's the thing. Even Lone Ranger had Tonto. And a lot of times we try to do everything on our own, but we got to understand there are other people in our lives that can help us to help prop up our dream, to help it make it become a reality. So I want to make a difference with people who want to make a difference. And I want you to, just right now, because I want you guys to believe this, say this with me. I can make a difference. You ready? Here, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I can make a difference. Now say it like you mean it. 1, 2, 3. I can make a difference. Say it now like you're excited about it. 1, 2, 3. I can make a difference. I love it. In the chat, online, chat it. I want you to type all caps with a bunch of exclamation points. Shout it out. I can make a difference. Now I want you to look to the person you're right and say, we can make a difference. All right, now turn to your person to your left. Nah, maybe not them. Just kidding. Turn to the person to your left and say, we can make a difference. Some of you guys are like, I don't have anyone on my left or right. Well, you're going to have to find someone. We can make a difference together. Here's the thing. Here's where it continues. Doing something that makes a difference. So I want to make a difference with people who make a difference, doing something that makes a difference. And I have 2 little acronyms that I think of when it comes to my dream. Number 1 is NGT, Next Generation Transformation. I believe for the rest of my life that as God has called me to lead Epic Life Church, that we will spend our time focusing on the next generation, that we will work as best as we can to equip the next generation to lead cultural transformation when they move into positions of leadership and culture as fully devoted followers of Jesus. That is something that makes a difference. I believe we can change the world, which is my other acronym, CYW. NGT and CYW, those 6 letters mean everything to me. They're everything that I wanted to dedicate my life to. I believe change your world, this idea that the world, if you got anybody want to raise your hand and say you don't think the world needs to change right now? Hopefully you can see it. But the only way for the world to change is not for us to try and make a difference on our own, because that's overwhelming. But as a team, together, it's possible that we can make a difference together, doing something that makes a difference, which is next generation transformation and changing the world. And the last phrase I want to give you is at a time that makes a difference. Folks, I want to tell you that right now is the time. It's not tomorrow. It's not someday. It is now. This is the time for us to make a difference. So we talk about this idea of teamwork making the dream work. We're talking about right now. We're talking about you and I locking arms together, doing something that matters to change the world right now. But the thing is that I am more excited than I ever have been at this moment in time. I'm optimistic because as I look at, I see all your guys' faces now, and as I look back and get to see the chat on you, those of you guys who are online later on today, to know that I am not alone in this. And there are people who are teaming up with me, partnering with me, allowing this to happen. On stage here with me earlier this morning with the music, I had Nancy and I had Anthony with me. We are locked arms together. We are a team. We are going to change the world. In the back of the room is this whole tech team that you'll never see and you'll never notice until something goes wrong. They are the unthankless heroes that when it goes right, they never get any praise, but when it goes wrong, you're sure to point it out to them. Let's just really quickly give those guys a hand. If you're in the chat, make sure you give those guys a hand clap as well. I know you got that one on there. But there are people right now, if you have kids today, that are working back with your kids, both in the student space and also with the kids back there, and they are right now making a difference in the lives of the next generation. Next generation transformation is happening right now as we speak with those kids back there. And I am so excited about what they're doing. When you are picking up your child today, would you do me a favor? Would you look them in an eye, and not with just apathy, but look them in the eye and say, with the most heartfelt, thank you. I appreciate you so much for what you do with my kids. Thank you for investing in my child's life every week and allowing me the opportunity to come in so that I can invest in my spiritual walk with God as well. That goes a long way. Sindel, back there with the students right now, she is, I don't know, like 9 3/4 months pregnant or something like that right now. She's due at any moment. Like literally, we could get her coming in and saying, I'm on my way to the hospital, my water broke. She's that close, and yet she's back there with your kids right now if you have a high school student and a middle school student investing in their lives. Guys, that's how we change the world. It's about serving one another. It's about having such an intense commitment to something that we will not let nothing stand in the way of that. If I could challenge you this morning as it relates to teamwork, and especially as it relates to this idea of next generation transformation, would you be thinking in your own mind and challenge yourself today, is there something, I don't know anybody in the room right now, anybody online who's like, nah, I'm not into changing the next generation. I'm not really into impacting our kids and making their lives better. I don't know anybody who's in that boat. But I will say that it's really easy when we look at our priorities to see if they really are a priority for us, next generation transformation. You know how you know if the next generation is a priority in your life? 2 things. Take a look at your wallet, and take a look at your calendar. Where you spend your time and where you spend your money tells you what is a priority in your life. And I encourage you, if next generation transformation is not on your priority list, move it up the list. Because if we're all, I think I talked about this last week, of this idea of slacktivism, this idea like we can click a like and that's our job, to help with the movement. If we're all that committed to next generation transformation, it will never happen. But if we are like ready to roll up our sleeves and get sweaty and get uncomfortable and be willing to sacrifice and take risks and do stuff that we never thought we'd ever do, it's out of our comfort zone, now we're talking. Now we can see the next generation transformed. Right now, I'm actually meeting with a young man who's a part of our church, and I meet with him about every other week, and I go out to coffee with him, and I'm investing in his life. And I'll tell you right now, I don't have the time for it. I don't have the bandwidth for it. It is a stretch. But the next generation is a priority for me, and I will pour my life into his life because I see the value add in his life, and I see how it's causing him to grow in his relationship with God and grow as a leader. There are people in your life. Maybe it's your children. Maybe it's the neighbor kids. Maybe it's a coworker or their kids. Or maybe it's someone who's just a little bit behind you in this journey of life that you can invest in. But here's the thing. Don't do it alone. We are a team. Together, everyone accomplishes more. Teamwork makes the dream work. If you want to see the reality of changing the world happen in your lifetime, if you want to see the next generation transformed in measurable ways in your lifetime, don't do it alone. Team up with other people, like-minded people, partner with them. I can tell you right now, if you partner with the church, we as a church community are going to do way more together than we could ever do by ourselves. That's what getting involved in ministry is. If you're here today and you're not actively involved in some way in your church community, can I encourage you to consider that? Back on the information table, there's actually a little thing saying, I want to volunteer, and you can sign up to be a part of a regular ministry team, a team of people who is serving, because together we accomplish more. Did you know that I have probably a dozen things that I'm doing right now as a pastor I have no business doing? My word to this year, God gave me a word. Every year I'm looking for a word that I can focus on that helps me in this journey. And God's word to me this year is just like, I didn't like it. He said, release. Release. I've got like a dozen things on my plate right now that I have no business doing, that if you came up and said, Mike, I'm willing to take something on, I could hand it off to you right away. But it's not going to be easy. The things on my list are not just like, here, could you go turn that light switch off? It's not like that. But I got things on my list. If you're willing to make a sacrifice and move things around in your schedule and prioritize, I can give them to you. There are people on our teams right now in the back that have been serving every week for like the last 6 months straight. They have no relief because no one has stepped into a position and said, you know what, I could be a part of the tech team. I just want to point out Anthony this morning, who is on the tech team every week and on one of his weeks off, who, by the way, also serves in the kids' ministry with your elementary kids, so you should already give him a trophy for that. And he heard that we were needing a drummer this week, and he's like, I can drum. That, my friends, is how you step up to the plate, and we accomplish more together. We lock arms together. You get on a volunteer team, and I promise you that together we will accomplish great things. In your notes, there's some next steps, and as we wrap up today, I just want to challenge you to take a look, number 2 and 3. I will look for someone to partner with this week. Number 2, who is someone in your life that you should be partnering with to accomplish more together? Number 3, I will partner with. Maybe you already have the name of somebody, an idea in your mind, then put their name in that spot and be intentional this week about reaching out and forging a partnership with them. I want to do something. Can I have a little bit of fun with you guys just for a second? Let's see. I'm gonna pull. Okay. I'm gonna get somebody up on stage. Okay, Sam, you're gonna hate me for this. Sam, can you come up here on stage? Come up here. So watch your step. Come over on this side right here. And let's see. Do I have like some dudes that are like just like I bodybuild for a living that would be willing to come up here? Just like I need 2. That's it. Well, let's do Jordy. Yeah, you guys can't be. Jordy and Steph, you guys come up. But you guys come up over on this side, okay? All right, you come over. Okay, yeah, stay right there, right there. You guys got this. Oh, we even have a muscle shirt. I love it. So you guys come on over here. I don't want you to fall off the stage. Okay, so up here on the stage, I have this rope. You guys ever played tug of war before? Okay, just so you guys know out there, I actually didn't have a rope, so this is a bungee cord. So it stretches a little bit. It's kind of fun. Don't ask me why I have a 30-foot bungee cord. But you're going to grab right about here. Why don't you grab the rope right there? And you guys are going to grab, now line up. You guys get a strategy. You guys line up over here. Work as a team. You guys, you don't like your heart's got to be into this thing. And like maybe like a little bulging on the muscles there. Okay, good, all right. Now pull it back to the middle. Pull back to the middle. Come back this way. Pull back this way. Gotta be a fair fight. Are you ready? Like, put your back into this, okay? All right. On the count of 3, you guys ready? Don't be nice to her. Be kind. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Keep pulling. Oh, man. I'm disappointed. Why?
I don't know what happened.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, come back here. We're going to do that again. All right. All right. Okay. Rob, Matt, Freddie, can you guys all come up here really quick? Can you guys grab up on this one here?
He's anchored.
Oh, wow, real strategy going on here. How do you feel about this time? You feel a little more confident? Okay. Are you guys ready for this? Okay. On the count of 3. 1, I'm going to get back in case this thing whips at me. Here. 1, 2. I'm just joking. You guys, you can go sit. Go ahead and sit down. You guys, go sit down. Give these guys a hand. Give these guys a hand. I didn't want any injuries up here, but I think we all know what would have happened if I let them go through with that. Here's the thing. We go through life like Sam, where we're ready to take on the world. And the challenges that we're up against are Jordy and Steph over here, and it seems overwhelming. And yet, many times, we figure we're going to try at least do our best, and we might even find a way to dig our heels in, get better shoes, maybe work out a little bit more, so that we have the best possible chance of winning that war with the obstacles in our life. But how easy is it just to invite other people on the journey? When Sam had a team, teamwork makes the dream work. It was not even a question. That challenge, these guys were going to fall fast. And they're big dudes, okay? But what we need to do is we need to remember that we got to stop thinking me, and we got to start thinking we. In your notes, the last verse I want you guys to get as we wrap up today, I want you to memorize this. 2 people are better off than 1, for they can help each other succeed. Guys, teamwork makes the dream work. Would you pray with me? God, this morning I pray for everybody here, everyone who's watching online, everyone who's missed today, who will be watching the video later. that you would just help us to understand this is not about somebody else. This is about me. This is about how I try to do things on my own. I try to be a Lone Ranger Christian. But in the end, if I would just look up and identify the people in my life who are waiting for the opportunity to partner with me, that together we can accomplish more, that our work, our effort together will multiply, and that any obstacle we face can be taken on. So God, as we look at this daunting task of this entire generation of people that are raising up right now who need our help, they need us to equip them, to help them succeed, so that when they enter the sectors of influence in their 20s, their 30s, as they become leaders in culture, that they can change the world because we set them up for success, and that they'll do it, God, as fully devoted followers of you. Because we did not resist this idea of teaming up, that we would work together to accomplish more for you and for your kingdom. God, help us even this week to look at the people and the situations in our life that we need to team up to conquer, and that we'd identify those people, that we'd reach out to them, take the risk, ask those people to help us on this journey so that together we can accomplish more for you and your kingdom. We thank you for us, God, and in your name we pray. Amen.